So I just got done watching the press conference with the Epstein victims, and there's a lot of things that stood out, and I want to go through them in case anybody missed this press conference. First of all, these victims and their attorneys very eloquently and effectively pulled us in to what the world of Epstein and his trafficking ring was all about. It wasn't as described by conspiracists who try to get people to vote for Donald Trump. It's not like all of those who are politicizing this. They pulled us into this very dangerous world that contained all kinds of abusers from any and all parties. Okay. They did a phenomenal job. And there's this emotional sense that they have been for years, years, and years, and years through the Bush administration, Obama's administration, Trump's first administration, Biden, and now Trump again, that their voices have been strangled, that everybody who victimized them was continuing to be protected. And to hear them finally come forward and talk, you could see this collective, unshakable moment that they have deserved to have all along. Now, number one, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace. I believe that they are two of the four Republicans that have signed on and are backing the bill to release all of the Epstein files unredacted, except to redact the names of the victims. Those are the only names that should be redacted. Now, they need two more Republicans. Every Democrat has signed on to it. After you hear what these victims went through, every single MAGA Republican and Donald Trump in the Department of Justice should stand shaking at their shoes at how fucking corrupt they look, how utterly sick they look, protecting this man and everybody associated with him. Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace. I'm happy. Marjorie Taylor Greene did a phenomenal job talking. Um, and I don't care why they are finally protecting the victims. I don't care if it's because Elon Musk and Project 2025 and all the MAGA elites took over the White House and made Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene irrelevant. Um, all that matters is that they are up there being the voice, and this opens up the possibility of new roads. They're helping to make Republicans look really bad for not supporting this bill. They might get ostracized really bad, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens then, because now you've got the whole Republican Party protecting Jeffrey Epstein if they're going to look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace as the enemies. So we take what we can get. These are pivotal points in history to me that open up new paths, different directions. So let's see where it goes. The one person that stood out to me was the attorney for many of these women. He represented them pro bono for, it sounds like, decades. And he talked about how so many administrations, different departments, including the CIA, were conducting investigations of not only the most powerful people and entities in the United States, but also across the globe. And by mentioning all of this, he's demanding everybody's records be released, not just the Department of Justice, all of them, so the whole world can see how many powerful entities and individuals around the world, through their moneyed interests, were able to protect themselves from being taken down, all at the expense of the victims. He gave a very powerful, informative speech. The second woman that stood out was one of the victims. She's a tall, beautiful black woman. When I say tall, I believe that she was involved in the modeling world, and she talked about how the Epstein victims were trafficked through modeling agencies, direct relationships between the Ford Modeling Agency and Jeffrey Epstein, just handing girls over, pageants, and you name it. Um, but what she said was she's working with the victims anonymously. She will not be releasing any of their names, and they're compiling a list of all of the people Epstein trafficked those 14-year-old girls to. So, this list that we've all been talking about, the flight logs and everything, is completely different from the actual individuals who were close friends with Epstein, and he handed these girls over, told the girls to go and service these very wealthy, powerful people, Democrats and Republicans. One of the victims made it a point to say that Jeffrey Epstein constantly talked about his friendship with Donald Trump all the time. Her impression was they were the closest of friends out of anybody Jeffrey Epstein was connected to. He even had an 8 by 10 photo of Donald Trump on his desk that he could look up and look at. Okay, I thought that was very brave of her to mention that. Um, there were a lot of other details that were shared. Whenever different, like the FBI and so forth, would conduct investigations and want to interview the victims, Jeffrey Epstein would send an attorney over there, and these little scared little girls couldn't say a word to the agents. In their minds, they're like, why can't I finally tell somebody who can do something about this, the abuse I went through? Epstein's attorneys, other people's attorneys, were there to make sure they spoke on behalf of the victims. And so for a lot of, FBI agents and so forth, they would run into dead ends. But it left the girls very aware that this is a very dangerous world we live in. Something's going to happen to us if they don't want us to talk. Something very bad's going to happen. So they've been so scared. This press conference today, people have to understand what a big deal it was, what risk they're taking to be out there in the public like this. They called, including the attorneys, called for protection of all the victims, including victims around the world who don't have nearly the kind of protection. Girls in Russia, and you name it, who want to talk, who have talked, and they're not protected. Something could happen to them if these entities think they might talk again. So they asked for protection of all the girls everywhere. The same kind of protection all the perpetrators have been getting to this day. That was very powerful. One of the victims talked about Epstein's, it looks like a fortress in New York City, and the girls would all be sent there to service Epstein. I'm using that word, to be abused by Epstein, but also to meet with Epstein's friends. And this reminds me of the Jewish wealthy woman who was interviewed very recently, who lived next door to Epstein's fortress, and she still does. And she said all the time she saw powerful men going in and out of his building. Sometimes they'd only stay an hour or a couple of hours, but it included Donald Trump a lot. It included Bill Clinton. It included Prince Andrews. All the people that Ghislaine Maxwell just cleared under Trump's Department of Justice. So I urge everybody to watch this press conference. I am going to go into a very dark hole of sadness and disgust if something doesn't come from this. If this administration continues to protect all the banks and all the politicians and attorneys and judges and everybody who was complicit, apparently all this would come out if they release all the files. So, yeah, watch it. Watch it, find clips of it, share it widely, share it on all forms of social media. We cannot let this die. These victims are still here. Yeah, it was hard to watch, but so important.